Hi, John Hoffman with Tampa Home Group with
Maria Hoffman.
And we are here for our All Talk Real Estate, what's going on in the greater Tampa market and some insights. So Maria, we just finished the first quarter of 2025 and the numbers are very interesting. And what we've noticed is that the inventory is shrinking and the number of sales is actually down. But the absorption rate, because the inventory is shrinking, is also down. And I think in most areas, it's still considered a seller's market. I think Wesley Chapel is the only one that is in a neutral position when it was 6 weeks ago moving in the opposite direction. So why do you think that is?
Well, we have to factor in the number of homes coming off the market.
Well, sure. And it's so frustrating for a homeowner not to sell when they see their neighbor's home sell.
Right.
And then they don't know why.
Right. Yeah, and if they have great professional photography and their home's in great condition, or their agents talk to them about what they might need to do to it, and their agent has a massive marketing budget, right? And if the home's not selling.
So sometimes homeowners just need to get a second set of eyes, right? If they really want to sell.
Sometimes they need a fresh approach.
You know, and the other reason why some of these homes aren't selling is sellers just can't get the price they want.
Yes, I would tell you I'm looking at the average listing here in our market took 2 price reductions to find the price where it actually went under contract.
So it would be helpful if these people knew at the beginning before they went on the market what their house might be worth.
Right, to really have an accurate idea of what the home is worth, and we can't look at 2 years ago.
But what do buyers? So these are resale because new construction is a totally different market. Townhouses is a different market, and condos is another market, right? And so we've got all these different things to look at. And so for this conversation, we're talking about single family resale.
Yeah.
So why do you think buyers aren't buying resale?
You know, I actually had this conversation with our great buyers agents yesterday morning. And frankly, the buyers are frustrated. They're not finding what they want at the prices that make sense to them. So in other words, they're finding a home that might need a whole lot of work. It's dated, it's not in good condition, it might need cosmetic work, structural work, and yet it's priced on par with a home that's sold that had everything done.
The homes aren't in the condition that the buyers want them to be.
A lot of it is condition.
Okay.
A lot of it is condition right now.
So let's look into that a little deeper. So market value, by my definition, is the most a buyer will pay and the least amount a seller will accept, and that gap is actually market value.
Yep.
And so what we're seeing is on homes that are 10, 12, 14, 18 years old, the colors and the countertops and the flooring might not be popular today.
Right.
And so if the sellers and the buyers never have that overlap, that home comes off the market. So at the end, that's really the market value, and we've got to find that. And unfortunately, a lot of sellers aren't educated about this before they go on the market. Or if the seller has a number that they have to have or they're not going to sell, well, they're going to come off the market and not go back on.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting what's going on is that some areas, Lutz have gone up 5% year over year. New Tampa's down 4% year over year, but there isn't a huge drop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so as this market continues to go down this road, well, President Trump came out with his tariffs yesterday, and the stock market is down 1,300 points so far today. And the 500 is down 2.5%. And I think that instability is also going to have an impact on people's desire to sell, if they've got a lot of equity tied up into the market. So these external things that are a concern for people are also going to have impact the market. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so what advice would you give to anybody that's either buying or selling right now when it comes to, is now the right time to get in the market?
Well, if somebody is in a position where they can afford to buy, I would say they absolutely should, because owning a home is hands down, when you look at history, always a better situation. You just, if you want to build long-term wealth, you do want to get into the market. And of course, we all understand that when and if rates go down and a whole bunch of people jump back into the market, buyers are going to be back in that situation of competing offers and bidding wars. So the buyers that are able to buy right now, I mean, I would say
Well,
buy.
you brought up a point when the rates come down. From what I've been learning today, with the tariffs and the stock markets coming down, is now we're virtually assured the Fed's going to cut the rates.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to have one now, maybe two rate cuts, and one coming as soon as May.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's going to help the affordability of people wanting to get into the market as well. And so, besides that, the one thing that I get asked a lot by people is this 2008 all over again, or 2009, where we saw 20%, 22% drop in values 2 years in a row.
Yes, we did.
And right now, with I think New Tampa being the highest year over year, down I think 4%,
Mm-hmm.
we're never going to have that massive decline, I don't think. All in all, I think our market is still steady. Homeowners insurance is still an issue. The townhouse market, they've got their challenges with the new construction driving down the resale value of older townhouses.
Mm-hmm.
And the condo market, for the most part, in Lutz, Land O'Lakes, Wesley Chapel, New Tampa, there's not a lot.
Yeah, it's just a small sliver in these areas.
And the other thing that I want to talk about is new construction. Now, we talked about this before, where new construction was paying between 10 and 10.5% of the sales price for rate buy downs and closing cost money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the builders are trying to get away from that,
Yeah.
but they're not having as much success as I think they thought. Like West Bay and Two Rivers, their high-end series, they're offering $100,000 of flex money,
Yeah.
right? And some other builders have extended their rate buy downs. So I think if you are looking to buy, and that cost of insurance is important to you, and not having to, fix anything up or replace flooring, is that, buying still is a viable option with new construction.
Yeah, absolutely. And in, of course, in our area, there's so much growth and people are moving here. We've got a lot of planned growth. So there's a lot of great opportunities with a lot coming into the area.
Oh no, I still think more and more people will be moving to Florida, and then once the rates do get down, because right now we're in the about 6 3/4. Once it gets down to 6 in the high 5s, I think you're really going to see the demand go up. But the interesting thing is that we have a low inventory, right? It's one neutral market, 3 sellers markets. When the rates drop, then more buyers are going to come up, and then the inventory is even going to get more shallow, which will do what?
Yeah, well, that will drive prices
That will drive some prices
for
up.
buyers, yeah.
So it's a very fluid market, which is why we always encourage people to watch our market update every month,
Yeah.
just so everyone knows what's going on in these individual markets, and to stay informed.
Yeah, John, there are a lot of people out there that I talk to people every day where in the majority of people, they're selling one home to buy another. So when we look at that and we look at the different factors, this is actually an advantageous time to do that, because as a seller, when they're turning around to buy with that contingency in place, right now they have a little more leeway to be able to do that. When and if prices go up, right, the cost of what they're going to buy is only going to go up. So they rise together. So if you're waiting for one number, right, then just keep in mind where you're going is going to be more.
So what you're saying is that if you wait too long, what you want to buy is going to go up.
Right.
And if the housing is going up, say 5%, and you're buying at 800 and your house is 400, that $800,000 house will go up, the gap will be bigger.
Exactly. Or let's say you're moving to a more expensive market. You know, you're moving to a market that's appreciating at a more rapid rate.
Well, either
Yeah.
way, if I am somebody that wants to sell my house, I need to talk to realtors that really know pricing well, that can tell me this is what you might want to do to your house before you go on the market
Yeah.
to maximize sales price and sell it faster, right? So you actually know what your equity position is.
Exactly. And I agree with you. Condition is more important than ever. Buyers are really looking for homes in good condition. So anything you can do up front is going to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
The world's not falling apart, and our real estate market isn't bombing. And as we go through it, and every year, we should see the median pricing hit its peak in June. And that's for people moving for schools and closings and all of that. And then we're in a cycle where you'll start to see pricing actually decline a little bit.
Dip down a little bit.
Dip down a little bit, and then it comes back up again every spring. But what happens is the best inventory gets absorbed and is closed by June, and the majority of homes that are left in June and July tend to be the ones that were overpriced, nobody wanted to buy, and hopefully those sellers will make the price adjustments to get where they need to be. And so we are a cycle.
Yeah.
Right, and we're in the cycle, and we're watching the interest rates, we're watching the insurance, we're looking at the absorption rate, because what we want to do is provide the best information we can, so buyers and sellers never say, gosh, I wish I knew this before I bought, or I wish I knew this before I put my home on the market. Well, thanks for checking us out at Tampa Home Group, and we look forward to visiting you again next month.